The alphabet is fine, but it could be so much better. It hasn't really changed for what, half a millennium? But English has changed a lot in that time. These 26 letters were settled to spell out a whole different language to the one that we speak now. For example, there's no letter for the most common sound in the English language today, and our most common word could be spelled much better. The alphabet is overdue for an update, so let's do it. In this video, we're going to trawl through the world's other alphabets to find letters that English could, in my opinion, steal. Letters that'll help us express the sounds that we actually say. I've also picked out the letters I think that we can get rid of. Some letters that I think we should resurrect, and I've actually paid someone to help us design a brand new one that you're going to want to see. Stick around for a big musical finish as we revolutionize the alphabet in another Rob Words. You know, this old building I'm standing in used to be a steel factory, which makes it an appropriate setting because today we're creating something. We're making a new English alphabet fit for the 21st century, one that makes spelling easier, reading faster, and writing more efficient. More efficient, you say? Yes, English is full of waste. Do you know the most common word in English? It's the. And just look at it. You can see wastage right there. Why do we need two letters to make the th sound at the start of that, T and H? The fact is, we don't. There is an alternative, and one that we used to use. The used to be a two-letter word, spelt like that. That letter at the start is called thorn. It's cropped up in a few of my videos, so I'll just run through it fast. It existed in Old English and Middle English, but disappeared when the printing press came around because European printers didn't have it on their presses. I mentioned before how they used a Y because it was the closest thing to it, and that is why we have signs saying ye olde such and such. That's not ye, it's thee. Anyway, all that confusion ultimately led to the disappearance of thorn, at least in English, and its replacement with TH. But here we are in a different millennium, and the printing presses have lost their monopoly on movable type, and now it's time to bring thorn back. I hereby announce it as the first new inductee into the English alphabet, making a welcome return. Side note, English also had another letter that was used pretty much interchangeably with thorn to make the TH sound. It was called eth, and it was also gorgeous. It's also still found in Icelandic. There it represents the sound as opposed to the th sound of thorn. The problem with eth is its capital looks identical to this letter used in some Slavic languages, but for a j sound. Too confusing, so that's why I've plumped for thorn and thorn alone. End of side note. So we've got rid of this unnecessary pair, but what about this one? You know, lots of languages have the sh sound, but they're not all wasting time using two letters to spell it out. They are using one. So maybe we should steal one of theirs. Well, I brought a call out on the socials for suggestions for letters that English should nick, and a couple of people said we should take this character from Japanese, which represents the she sound. In fact, Japanese has another alternative character for that sound too. They do both look awesome, but that's she, and what we're looking for is sh. So might I recommend, as an alternative, something that I've noticed on signs for Turkish takeaways around my way. It's this. It's a letter called she, and it does exactly the job that we're looking for. It makes a sh. So I'm pilfering that for our alphabet. Welcome our shiny new letter, she. You know, Turkish also has another letter that has this little squiggle under it, which is called a cedilla, by the way, and started out life as a tiny fancy Z. Turkish also has this letter, which in theory we could also have for our own because it makes the same sound as this pair. It makes a ch sound. The problem here, though, is that this exact character appears in a few other European languages. You might recognize it from French and Portuguese, but in those languages it makes a completely different sound, more akin to an S sound. So for me, that makes it a non-starter. But I like this idea of finding a single letter to replace our wasteful C and H combo, so let me suggest an alternative. The Cyrillic alphabet, used for languages like Bulgarian, Ukrainian, Serbian, and of course Russian, has this letter. It's called variously chie, che, cha, chu, all sorts of chas, and as you might have guessed, it represents the ch sound, like in the word choose. It also has the extra bonus of representing the slightly tougher tch sound in words like ditch. I like it. It's going in. Great choice, guys. I've done a very good job of adding to the existing alphabet so far, but is there anything that we can take away? Well, I'll tell you the answer is yes. And it's this. I mean, what is the point of Q? Name one job performed by Q that couldn't also be done by K or even C. The only time that it comes into its own is when it's put in combination with a U. But what sort of self-respecting letter needs help to get anything done? Nope, I'm getting rid of it. Do us a favor, Q, and quit. But that does leave us with the problem of what to put here, for example. Well, you know, we could just put a K there. Look, that still says quit, doesn't it? But I'm not happy with still needing the U there to make it work. I'm sensing another opportunity for efficiency. I wonder if we can find a single letter that makes that qu sound. Well, actually, I've looked around and you can't, or at least I couldn't. I obviously don't know all of the alphabets in the world, but I had a bit of a trawl and no dice. I found this in the Neo-Tiffana Berber alphabet. It is cool, but it's essentially still two characters, isn't it? Quite the quandary, I thought. But then it quickly hit me. What if we invented our own letter? So that's what I set about doing. I use this thing called the internet to search for a graphic designer who could come up with something that looked the part and could do the job. And after sending off what must have seemed like a slightly strange request, I found someone who was willing to take on the challenge. She'd asked me to give her a couple of days, so stick around to see what she came up with. Oh, see that? That's my shiny new 3D logo. Do you like it? I made that with the help of this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the place to learn how to up your game or to start something new, and I've been using it to learn how to make 3D animations. No goal is too small with Skillshare, even if it's as little as making a little spinny logo. Skillshare also has online courses on how to do the big stuff too. Maybe you want to start a newsletter like I do. There'll be someone on Skillshare to help you. I also found this great course on there by YouTuber and author Thomas Frank about how to build good habits that last. He has great advice on how to be more productive, more consistent, and hopefully happier by getting into a good routine. There are actually hundreds of career-focused courses on there, well beyond the wealth of classes in, photography, film, and other creative stuff that you might already know Skillshare for. So, if you want to check them out, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description below this video will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. There is nothing to lose, only to gain, so get clicking and get on it. Now, I'm really getting into this idea of purloining letters from other languages, so let me put forward yet another one, and it's one that, as a resident of delightful Deutschland, I see all the time. It is this fat fellow, that most German of characters, the SZ. SZ literally means SZ or SZ, because that's what this shape is. It's an old-fashioned long S and a Z. But actually, these days, it more often than not serves as a double S For example, you can write the German word for street, Straße, like this or like this. English has loads of words that contain a double S that would benefit from this little efficiency. So let's do it. Welcome aboard the S set. It's in the alphabet now. Pass it on. You know what? I've got another one, but you're going to have to hear me out on this one. So, you know this letter? Of course you do. It's iconic. I'm surprised it's not on the Spanish flag, so associated with the language. Is it? Indeed, it does appear in the Spanish word for Spain. And I want it. This letter, called Ñ, has a fascinating history. You know that squiggle on the top started out life as an N? Spanish used to spell words like año, meaning year, with two N's. And to save space on expensive bits of paper, medieval monks got into the habit of popping the second N on top of the first. Eventually, it just became a squiggle. Nowadays, you can find it in lots of other languages too, and I think we should have it in English. The ñ sound that it represents pops up all over the place in union, onion, companion, bunion. I mean, don't you think those words look better like this? I'm going to pretend you said yes. Welcome Ñ to the new English alphabet. Okay, I admit that doesn't save any space there. Moving on. So earlier we fixed the most common word in English, the. But do you know what the most common sound is in English? Huh? No, that's it. It's We use it all the time, particularly us Brits, when we say things like borough, soldier, border, in my accent anyway. It's that sound that you hear at the end. It also pops up in the middle of words too, and is present somewhere no matter what form of English you speak. It even appears in the words America, Australia, and twice in the word Canada. And it occasionally pops up in the word the. Or should that be the word, the? You see what I'm getting at? That is the most common sound in English. It is the sound that our vowels just seem to turn into if we can't be bothered to enunciate them. And yet, we don't have a letter for it. But I know where to look for one. There's a name for that sound. It's called schwa, and it appears in the International Phonetic Alphabet, the alphabet used to write out the sounds of words, whatever the language. And it looks like this. This upside-down E is just what we need to end the madness of English's missing vowel. Welcome into the fold, sexy little schwa. And while we're on the IPA, not that one, the International Phonetic Alphabet, let's mine it just a little bit more, because there is another common English sound that I think deserves a letter. I'm talking about ng. It's an essential part of English grammar. It's the ending for every gerund, and we need it for our unusual way of saying something is happening, that unique English present tense. Ng is so important, and I think it deserves a letter. And the IPA has just the character for the job. It is this. It's called eng, and actually there was an attempt to introduce this letter to English a few hundred years ago. We weren't ready for it then, but I reckon we are now. Eng is joining our new alphabet too. Right, I've kept you waiting long enough. It's time to unveil our brand new custom-designed letter. So our friend from the internet came back to me with two concepts, both of which play on the idea that this letter essentially makes the sound that a K and W would together, a kwa. So here's concept number one. See how it's a K and a W, but for me it is a bit complicated. Can you imagine trying to write that in freehand? It also has curled up dead spider energy. So let's see if we can do better with concept number two. Here. Okay, I showed this to a few people, and honestly, they all more or less said the same thing. Nice white supremacist logo, Rob. I mean, I honestly didn't see it myself at first, but I do get the point. There does appear to be a lot of Ks going on in there. But I reckon that with just a little bit of tweaking, I have managed to fix that. So now, I bring you our brand new letter. Say hello to quack. What do you think? Comments below, please. Now, I wonder, do we need to do anything about this? I mean, it's not great, is it? W? It really is just two U's or V's, because they used to be the same letter, crammed together. And it takes forever to say. It makes reading web addresses out loud so tedious. W, W, W. Can we do better? Well, we could bring back another letter from English's past. This guy called win. We could turn every web address into a win, win, win. But there's an obvious problem there, isn't there? I mean, it looks far too much like a capital P. So what about other languages? Well, Polish has this letter, which makes a worse sound, but it's clearly confusing too, isn't it? It often gets mixed up with an L. A lot of people think that the Polish currency is called the zloty, when it's in fact called the złoty. What's more, this letter is called L, which is exactly how someone from Essex would pronounce L. 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 Yeah, it's exactly like that. Oh, give us it. How do you spell it? L. L. I'm right. So let's just leave W as it is. It's not perfect, but it does the job. I also don't want to have to pay another graphic designer to do me a new logo. W stays. So what else? Well, I suppose we could consider popping ampersand at the end of the alphabet. It wouldn't be the first time. It's appeared there a few times down the years, but we are using it anyway, aren't we? And I'd hate for my new alphabets to get bloated. 33 letters are enough, right? In which case, it's been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure. What is that? That is zh sound. S isn't the right letter for that. Let's just have one more. Jet from Czech should do the job. I have made my decision. And with that, there is only one thing left to do. There's 34 letters, I think they're much better. Sing the new alphabet with me.
A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, 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 O, P, Quack, R, S, S, T, thorn, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z, and jet. Now you know your new ABCs. It's sort of easy as you see. Thanks.
A quick thank you also to those who made this possible. Lesia for designing our new letter. Shout out to my chum Martin Williams for his help with the song. And also thanks to Oat Milk Studios and of course Skillshare. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, pop any questions below, and check out one of these videos next.